that down, Rayanne. He said he's not keeping it.
Well, that's why I keep telling my wife, we're not keeping it. We're just babysitting.
Babysitting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they're all
Puppy sit for about 6 years. All right, well, good evening. Throttle Up Bible Study. How we doing tonight?
Good. Yay.
So it was a pretty good day after all. Rode the bike down to Spring City. Got a little rain on me on the way home, not much, because I was expecting it to rain all afternoon, because I hurt that bad. Got home, nothing. It blew over. Completely missed us. Hope it does that again tomorrow. I got things to do tomorrow. So, how about you guys? Good day?
Yeah.
Good times? Very good. Uh-oh. Ian's like, no, I had to work.
No, I just went through the Book of Psalms. I watched Fred ask me to do the study of the Book of Psalms. We'll be here 17 years.
I'll ask you to do whatever you please to do. You know?
Hey, Psalm 120 will be here forever.
Yeah. Isn't it funny, in the middle of the Bible, Psalm 118, and then the chapter before it, 117 is the shortest, and 119 is the longest in the Bible.
Yeah.
I may have those numbers reversed, but
I think
you get the idea.
I think 122 is real short. Fred's dad used to have us read a verse before we go swimming.
Yeah.
Or read a chapter. So we
You get to that one, yeah.
yes.
Or make you read the book of Jude, right?
Yeah,
One page.
That's not too bad.
That's not bad. Well, so we started the book of 1 Kings last week. So let's do a little recap, right? So where are we in the timeline of King David? Remember what we talked about last week?
He's ready to go home.
He's ready to go home, and why is that?
So,
How old is he?
67.
Yeah. Bible says he's old, advanced in years.
70 something.
Yeah, he dies at 70. But yet the Bible says he's old. I don't think that's that old. You know?
I don't think so.
You're going to put it somehow nicer. The light from your sun is shining. Your star's about to go
another
into heat.
level up. Another level up.
One of the things that we'll say tonight is that he's going to sleep with his fathers. That's just a weird statement, but that's old Hebrew. You know, you go and you sleep with, that means you're buried with them, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those, and it's a weird statement. Why does the Bible say that? Well, they thought of things a little different than we do. But, you know, we talked about David is getting old, it says. That's, as a matter of fact, that's the first thing. Now King David was old and advanced in years, right? That's chapter 1. But then, remember, we talked about his sons. His oldest son, Adonai, right? And then the second son, Daniel, dies early, natural death. And then, not yet. We ain't got there yet. The third one, Adonijah, right? Kills the first one. Now see, I got it wrong. Oh, Adonijah sets himself up to be the king. Remember, he takes over the harem, and he takes the girls outside and sleeps with them outside.
Builds the throne with the horns.
Right. And then, you know, David sends Joab to get him, right? So, I mean, these are the things that we'll talk about, or that we talked about last week, right? But I like how it says this. This is verse 5 back in 1, and we'll get through this in a hurry. But it says, now Adonijah the son of Haggith exalted himself, saying, I will be king, right? He's taking that precious saying, I'm going to be king. But then, when we get over here later, it says that where is it's right here, right in front of me. Solomon is anyway. The King David, this is verse 28. King David answered, call Bathsheba to me. And we remember who Bathsheba was, right? That was the wife of the army general that he saw on the roof and took her to be his own and had her husband killed, literally, right? And so now he has a son through her. That's Solomon, right? So as the Lord lives and has redeemed my soul, I swear to you by the God of Israel, saying, Solomon, your son, shall reign after me. So he skipped over, in that time frame, it was all by who was born first, and who was born second, who has the right of ascension, and all that. But you think back through time, right? Remember Esau and his brother Jacob, right? Esau was supposed to get the blessing, but the old man was blind, so Jacob's mom dressed him in Esau's smelly old camel suit clothes and sent him in there with something good to eat, right? So he got the blessing, right? So he inherited everything. And then the same thing goes through all of these previous families that we see. Well, it's no different here where, the firstborn was killed, the secondborn died naturally, the thirdborn wanted to make himself king, but now it's the fourthborn that the king says, no, he's going to be the king. So it's good to be the king. Anyway, so it says that they blew the trumpet and it says, long live King Solomon, right? And we got through all of that last week. But then we're going to get down into chapter 2. And this thing went to sleep again. I got to fix that. Is it going to work? Maybe. Of course not. Whenever the phone goes to sleep, same thing happened down there. It's the same program. So.
Yeah.
All right. TUBBS, 1 Kings chapter 2. Show me the verses. Verse 1. Yes. All right, here we go. So it says, when David's time to die drew near, he commanded Solomon his son, saying, I'm going to stop right there. How did he know he was about to die? You got to remember, David is after God's heart, right? So David and God had a lot of conversations. I think, this is a Fred thought, I think God told David, hey, get your affairs in order next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. That's the same thing I think of when I think of Paul, right? Because it says Paul knew he was about to die. How do you know you're about to die? The extremely aged will say they get a feeling it's time to go, right? And I know that to be true, right?
In this hospice, and all of a sudden you're not sick anymore.
You're not sick anymore, right? But verse 2 then says this, I am about to go the way of all the earth. We'll come back to that. Be strong and show yourself a man. Two completely different statements in one sentence. The first one says he's going to become the way of the earth. Means to die. What is it that a pastor will say, quoting a biblical scripture, when someone died at the gravesite? Right, because everything turns back into what it was made from. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's what that means. So to become as all of the earth, right? What does not turn back into what it was are pure things. Pure gold doesn't turn back into anything else. A diamond doesn't turn back into, oh, by the way, it's not gold, but that's a fallacy. It's not everything that does, but the majority of the things that grow on the earth will return to what they were, right? Okay. Then it says, be strong and show yourself a man. Stop right there, and let's talk about Solomon for a second. If you look at David, how was he raised? What was his job? He was a sheep herder, and he had to fight bears and lions and tigers, right? So then he fought the giant, right? He fought Goliath, and he's ready to take on those brothers. Then he fought the Philistines, and he's doing all of that. He's tough. He's a man's man. He can build things, right? Solomon is Bathsheba's son. Solomon, we would say, was probably born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was taken care of by thousands of women. Is he a manly man or not? because David says, be a man. More words I'm going to add here, but this is the way I see it. I never taught you how to be a man because you didn't have to be, because you weren't going to be king. You're not my firstborn. Right? Those are words not in there. But this is what I think David is thinking. Oh man, I got to make him king. God said he's going to be king, he's going to be king. Period. David gets it. Maybe I should have taught him better. So maybe I'll say this one good, strong statement. Be strong. Be a man. And then verse 3. And keep the charge of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and keeping his statutes, his commandments, his rules, his testimonies, as written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you turn. That's good advice for anybody, isn't it? That's a statement that people can put over their child's bed, right? Keep the Lord your God's commandments. Well, the majority of us that grew up in Christian homes were taught that. Even the ones that grew up in a non-Christian home may have been taught right from wrong or good from evil, right? Do the right thing. How many times have we heard that in our life, right? Do the right thing. Don't do what makes you feel good, because that'll get you in trouble, right? But do what is right? But look what it says here, verse 4. It says that the Lord may establish his word that he spoke concerning me, saying, and this is a quote back from what God had said to him before, if your sons pay close attention to their way, to the walk before me in faithfulness, with all their heart and with all their soul, you shall not, I'm going to tell you that what ESV says here is, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel. Pops, can you read the last of verse 4 in King James?
There shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel.
In Hebrew it says, there shall not be a missing of a man in Israel. Okay? So, this is pretty strong talk. Right, exactly. Okay, do you remember? Not even a couple of books back, right? If we go back to even Ruth, right? The common thing in the end of Judges and in the book of Ruth, that last little sentence on every paragraph said, at that time there was not a king in Israel. And everybody did whatever they wanted to do, and everything was going to shambles, right? So they said, we want a king, we want to be like every other country. And God said, you really don't. And they got one. Remember who they get? They got Saul. And Saul was pretty bad, right? But then God said, all right, look, I've heard the children cry, I'll give them David, right? Now David's fixing to die because he's so old, right? So God promised him, your sons, if they pay attention. Well, the first one didn't pay attention, and the second one died early, so we can't talk much bad about him. But the third one killed the first one, right? And then the third one had to be killed by the general of the army, right? And now here's the fourth one.
The Playboy.
The Playboy. The one that drives up in the rolls, right?
Yep.
Oh, well, that's chariot rolls. Anyway, so here's what you have to think of. If this guy pays attention and does what God tells him, there will always be a man on the throne in Israel, descendant of his David. Okay, fast forward a few thousand years, well, 1,000 years, right? The lineage of David comes to Jesus, who shall sit on the throne forever. It's a promise that was made way back here. And it's still there today. That's so cool. Verse 5, moreover, you also know that Joab, the son of Zeruiah, what he did to me, how he dealt with the two commanders of the armies of Israel, Abner, the son of Ner, and Amasa, the son of Jether, whom he killed, avenging in the time of peace for blood that had been shed in war, and putting the blood of war on the belt around his waist and the sandals on his feet. Okay, we read through all that, right? When we go back into 2 Samuel, all the things that were done against David, right?
Yeah.
And then they had the priest that came up and said, "Hey, we really need to stick behind this guy. He's the better candidate," right? So they all flocked around him. And we're going to talk about Joab. Joab is the one that killed the third son of David, right? Because David told him to, right? But here we're going to find out how things have been twisted now. And nothing can stay straight, right? I mean, especially when it's talking about power and the kingdom and stuff like that, right? All right, verse 6 then says this, act therefore according to your wisdom, but do not let his gray head go down to Sheol in peace. What does that mean?
Well, don't let him retire. Kill him off before he can.
Right. Don't let his gray head go down to Sheol. Don't let him be with his fathers until it's until all of this is done. Right. So they have. Yes, ma'am.
Solomon?
No. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. Read 5 again. Moreover, you also know that Joab, the son of Zeruiah, what he did to me. Right. So now you can't let his gray head go down. So you can't let him age until the gray. Grace was 25. That's a different story. Anyway, so it says, and Adnah, the son of Ner, and Amasa, the son of Jether, whom he killed, avenging the time of peace for blood. Remember, there's thing in the Mosaic law that says if you take a life has to be given for the life you took. Right? That's literally where we get our corporal punishment for murder, is from that statement, right? Look what it says. It says, putting the blood of the war on the belt around his waist and sandals of feet. Act therefore according to your wisdom, but do not let the gray head go down to Sheol in peace. In other words, he did this in violence during peacetime. Don't let him die in peace. Go make his life miserable. That's the way I read it, right? So here we go. So verse, 7?
Yeah.
Verse 7. Says, but deal loyally with the sons of Barzillai and the Galdalite, and let them be among those who eat at your table. For with such loyalty they met me when I fled from Absalom, your brother. Remember, Absalom wanted to kill David.
Yeah.
He wanted everything for himself, right? So verse 8 then says, and there is also with you Shimei, the son of Gera, the Benjaminite from Bahurim, who cursed me with a grievous curse on the day when I went to Mahanaim. But when he came down to meet me at the Jordan, I swore to him by the Lord, saying, I will not put you to death with the sword. Okay, in other words, I ain't going to kill you with the sword. I promise you, I will not slay you with a sword. Now, keep that in your mind as we go forward. Because verse 9 says this. Verse 9 says this. Now, therefore, do not hold him guiltless, for you are a wise man. You will know what you ought to do to him, and you shall bring his gray head down with blood to Sheol. Sheol, some people say. Okay, first off, what is Sheol? What is this place?
Hell.
It is the place in front of hell. Let's go that route, right? You can see the great chasm from there, right? This is the place where everybody went when they died, right? To await judgment. And when Jesus came, was hung on the cross, died, put in the tomb, the Bible says he went to Sheol and released the first children. All those that were righteous before him by the law were released. When you read that in the New Testament and in the book of Acts, it's them coming up out of the ground and walking around. It's the first Walking Dead, right? I mean, that's the way we can think of it. That's not how it is, but all of these dead people have been dead for a long time are now walking around the town and then ascending to heaven. So he's saying, send him there bloody. You know, don't let him go there in peace. Make him miserable. Okay, so is he going to honor his promise? I will not slay you by the sword. Oh, okay, I need you to go and kill him.
Yeah.
I kept my promise. I didn't do it.
I just sent a good
I just sent a good hit. That's right.
Or just, have someone take him out with an arrow.
Yeah.
Or
Or a
I was thinking
spear.
about a knife.
Or run over in a Mack truck. Whatever. These are the things you have to think of, right? So, verse 10. So here comes a very interesting thing to think of, and I'm kind of glad, and if y'all ever watch this, our hearts are out with you guys, Carla, Jamie. Jamie's mom passed away this morning, and we're sad about that. What we're fixing to read about here is the death of David. And one of the things that I was going to point out anyway, trying to be nice with them being here, this is David's epitaph, right? What is an epitaph? Or obituary. What's the obituary? Yeah, you wrote your own? That's good, and that's where I'm going to go with this, because you ever heard of this guy, Nobel? Yeah. Well, not yet.
Not that one?
That one, but not yet. He's I think he was in Paris, reading a paper and read his own obituary that the inventor of dynamite had died. Now, he did invent dynamite, and he had died. What? Is Paris hell? What? He's reading his own obituary. It's in the paper. That's what caused him to have a change of heart and mind of what he wanted to be remembered by. And that's when he started doing peaceful things that got the Nobel Peace Prize named after a dynamite creator.
Wow.
That is. I love that
That's the
story.
bomb.
Literally. That's cool. So then, verse 10 says, then David slept with his fathers. Well, once again, that means he's dead. He's in the ground. There's nothing wrong with what that says. Says, and was buried in the city of David. Now, where's the city of David? Now, I don't have a map up there, but if I'm looking at this long city of Jerusalem, the city of David's way down at the south end. That's the way I read this map. I could be wrong, but it's just the way I look at it. Okay, so it says, verse 11. And the time that David reigned over Israel was... So David, who died at 70, reigned since he was 30. Now, what had he done before that? Look at this. He reigned 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. So that's how the kingdom was split back then. Remember, he was the one that united the tribes of Israel, right? So this is before that happened. 12. So Solomon sat on the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was firmly established. So David dies. Solomon has now taken over, right? Even though the son above him is trying to, right? Right? I got to turn a couple pages because it's got all these notes in here. All right. So let's look then. That's 13, right? Is that where I'm at? Yeah, 13. 12. Did I not do 12? 12 says, so Solomon sat on the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was firmly established. Does the King James say something different? No. Okay. So 13. Then Adonijah, remember, son number 3, right? The son of Haggith came to Bathsheba, who is the mother of Solomon, and she said, do you come peacefully? He said, yeah, peacefully. Then have something to say to you. She said, speak. He said, you know that the kingdom was mine, and that all Israel fully expected me to reign. However, the kingdom has turned around and become your brother's. Oh, thank you. I couldn't figure out why I was saying her brother. My brothers, for it was his from the Lord. So Absalom is, not Absalom, but Abinijah is going, hey, mother of my half-brother, the kingdom was mine, and your kid has taken it over. It looks like it's from the Lord, which he was. It looks like he's acknowledging it, right? Looks like he's trying to be a good kid. Looks are deceiving, though. Verse 16. And now I have one request to make of you. Do not refuse me. She said to him, speak. Twice she said that word. And he said, please ask King Solomon, because he will not refuse you, to give me Abishag the Shunammite as my wife. Anybody remember Abishag? She had a very important role in the last chapter, because David was old. He couldn't get warm. And he sent for that beautiful woman to lay next to him. Not for anything other than heat. Just to be now, Abishag wants her as his wife, because she was the last one to give David comfort in the way of just body heat. Oh. So Bathsheba said, very well, I will speak for you to the king. Who's she going to go talk to? Solomon, right? If you're not keeping up, you got to remember Solomon is now king. So the next older brother asked his younger brother's mom to go ask his younger brother to give him their dad's last person of interest. How about that? 19. So Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak to him on behalf of Adonijah. And the king rose to meet her and did what? Why would a king bow to a woman? That's his mom. In the Mosaic Law, it says, honor your father and your mother. He's showing honor by bowing, even though he's the leader of the tribes. He's like, yes, ma'am. Right? That's why Adonijah went to her. You're his mom. He'll talk to you. He'll acknowledge you. He'll respect what you have to say. So she says, oops, sorry. Where am I? I'm still on 19. And the king rose to meet her and bowed down. Then he sat on his throne, and he had a seat brought for the king's mother, and she sat on his. Once again, position matters. Right is a place of honor. Left is a place of disgrace. Right? So he had her sit at his right side. 20. 20 then says, then she said, I have one small request to make of you. Do not refuse me. I'm speaking like an old witch hag. I don't mean to. It's just the way it's coming out, right? So, and the king said to her, well, make your request, my mother, for I will not refuse you. And she said, sorry. She said, let Abishag the Shunammite be given to Adonijah, your brother, as his wife. It's kind of weird. Now, for those of you that were here Sunday, or not here Sunday, either way, Paul, writing to the church at Corinth, says there's one among you there's a lot of sexually immoral people among you, but one specific. What was the one specific?
Sleeping with his wife. I mean, his father's stepmother.
His father's wife.
His stepmother.
His stepmother. What is he asking for right here? He's asking for his father's last person of interest, not asking for the wife. But that was the role that she held, just to keep him warm. Isn't it interesting how things keep showing up like that? 22 then says this. King Solomon answered his mother, why do you ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is my older brother, and on the side of Abinather the priest, and Joab the son of Zerah. So he's like, Mom, you start with a simple little request. Is the next thing you're going to ask for the kingdom? Now, I don't think he's disrespecting his mother here at all. I think he's trying to be logical, right?
Well, he just saw through the game that's being played already.
Yep, I agree with that statement. I agree with that. 23 says, Then King Solomon swore by the Lord, saying, God do so to me, and more also, if this word does not cost Adonijah his life. My older brother is asking for our dad's last person to be his wife. You're going to ask me next for the kingdom, and let that be known. That will be the end of everything, and God will punish. Those are my words. That's what I read there. He's like, you dare try it, and it's going to be the end of everything. Right? Respectfully, Mom. Right? 24. Now therefore, as the Lord lives, Lord all caps, Yahweh, right? Who has established me and placed me on the throne of David my father, and who has made me a house as he promised, Adonijah shall be put to death today. So he can't do any more harm by speaking ways that would confuse people. Solomon's pretty smart. Solomon's not going to let these shenanigans go on anymore, right? 25. So King Solomon sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he struck him down and he died. No, didn't we not just read that it wasn't going to be him? It wasn't him, it was his, right? He had his brother killed because his brother was trying to be sneaky, right? He'd already claimed to be king. He wasn't king. He tried to show the people he was going to force his way to be king. And now he's asking Mom, hey, Mom, can you help me out here? You know,
Go get a consolation prize.
Yeah, Dad. A free trip to show. Anyway. Holy
I
stupid.
wonder how Bathsheba. When how did she feel about that? She kind of, by bringing that request to King Solomon, that's what kind of caused him to do this, to kill his brother.
Could be. Hang on, let's see.
Oh,
All right?
okay.
I don't know if it's in this chapter or not, but we'll see that. Right? She does make a statement about it. So 26. 26 says, and to Abiathar, the priest, the king says, go to Anathoth, your estate, for you deserve death. But I will not at this time put you to death. Read that again. But I, this time, will not put you to death. Because you carried the ark of the Lord God before David my father, and because you shared in all my father's affliction. You got to go back through all the wars with the Philistines before they captured the Ark of the Covenant and took it up north. This guy was the one that was over the crew that carried it, right, on from the 2 6-foot poles, right? You can't touch it and all that, right? So this guy carried the ark for David, or led the group that did. And whenever David was in trouble and on the run and had to eat the bread of the presence, right? Remember, they had nothing to eat for a long time, and he went and he asked the priest, hey, can we have yesterday's bread that you're taking off the table of the presence? And he goes, that's only for the priest to eat, and y'all are not priests. And he's like, they're not going to know. We need to eat. Right? This guy's part of that whole thing there, right? Let's see.
The sharing all my father's affliction.
Yes.
What does that have to do with health issues?
Did
he like take care of him when he was sick or something?
Fed him when he was hungry, took care of anything he needed. Yeah. 27. So Solomon expelled Abiathar from being priest to the Lord, thus fulfilling the word of the Lord that he had spoken concerning the house of Eli in Shiloh. What in the world is that? You got to go way back, right? Eli and his sons were bad, and they said, and God said, I will strike from your house any position of power. This is the last one. This is the descendant of Eli. Right? So, once again, a promise of the Lord is coming true to somebody's demise. Okay? So, 28. When the news came to Joab, remember Joab killed the older one, right? For Joab had supported Adonijah, although he had not supported Absalom. Joab fled to the tent of the Lord and caught hold of the horns of the altar.
Never before.
We've been there before. Somebody else did it, and guess what happened to them? They got beheaded, or they got killed. It doesn't say how. So now here he is. Out now, Joab, who had been trusted by David, right, is now on the run from Solomon because of what he did to Solomon's older brother. Oh, look. 29. 29 then says this. It says, and when it was told to King Solomon that Joab has fled to the tent of the Lord, and behold, he is beside the altar, Solomon sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, saying, go strike him down. He doesn't deserve to live anymore. So, Benaiah came out of the tent and said to him, the king commands, come out. But he said, no, I will die here. And once again, just voices. Oh, then Benaiah brought the king word again, saying, thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And the king replied to him, do as he said, strike him down and bury him, and thus take away from me and from my father's house the guilt for the blood that Joab shed without cause. Because Joab had killed during the time of peace and put that belt with the blood on it on him. So he was cursed because of that. This now finishes that. Because an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, that's in the Old Testament. That's this. This is exactly what it's about. You took a life during peacetime, your life's going to be taken. Whoo, son, I tell you. 32, right? The Lord will bring back his bloody deeds on his own head, because without the knowledge of my father David, he attacked and killed with the sword 2 men more righteous and better than himself. Abner, the son of Ner, commander of the army of Israel, and Amasa, the son of Jether, commander of the army of Judah. Judah's down south, right? I always thought Judah was up north because they always said they're walking up to Judah. That's because they're walking uphill. Not
He
up.
killed those two guys?
Yeah.
So he
During
didn't-
peacetime.
But he didn't just kill the son, he killed those two guys.
He was associated with the killing of the son, yes.
Okay, so there's three people.
Right. Now, he didn't actually kill
The brother.
Absalom, right? It was one of his crew, but he was part of it.
I got killed in
Yeah, I think I said that earlier, but I meant he was part of it.
Oh.
Yeah. We'll go back and read that if we need to. Verse 33. Whoo! It'll be a long night. 33 then says this: So shall their blood come back on the head of Joab and on the head of his descendants forever. But for David and his descendants, and for his house, and for his throne, there shall be peace from the Lord forevermore. We know that to be true because that's where Jesus comes from. 34, then Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, went up and struck him down and put him to death. And he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. So we have a nice 2-bedroom, 1 bath with a living room and a dead body. Buried in his own house. Doesn't mean on his property. It means literally in the house. It's a curse. Yeah. Wow.
Like, I bet the rent's still outrageous.
So I got a phone call yesterday. You know, I rented both my houses out through the company over in Kingston. And the company wrote me or called me and said, their lease is up. You want the people in the big house to be able to stay there? I said, absolutely, but only if you don't raise the rent. Okay. So I told them that today, and they were so excited. They're good people. I love having good people here for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 36. I'll watch my place. That's 33. 36 is over here. Then, oh wait, did I finish 35? The king put Benaiah and Jodiah over the army in place of Joab, and the king put Zodak, the priest, in the place of Abiathar. Then 36 says, Then the king sent and summoned Shimei, and said to him, Build yourself a house in Jerusalem, and dwell there, and do not go out from there to any place whatsoever. Is he a prisoner? No. He's a priest. Priests are to stay in the city, so they're protected by the tribes. So these are the descendants of, I can't get the right word in my head. The descendants of the Levi. There we go. So these are descendants of Levi. They have no city of their own. They don't own any land. They build cities in the houses. No, they build houses in the cities where they're protected by the tribes. So that's what he's done. Go build yourself a house. Do not go any place for that, because you might not make it, away, right? So for on that day you go out and cross the brook Kidron, know for certain that you shall die. Your blood shall be on your own head. And Shimei said to the king, What you say is good, and my lord the king has said, so will your servant do. So Shimei lived in Jerusalem many, many days.
In his house.
In his house that he builds, and he follows the instructions, and everybody goes home happy. Right?
Must have a big TV.
You guys know better. Yeah, big screen TV, right? Killer stereo. You guys know that's not going to stay, though, right? 39. But it happened at the end of 3 years that 2 of Shimei's servants ran away to Achish, the son of Mach, king of Gath. And when it was told to Shimei, Behold, your servants are in Gath. Hey, two of your helpers have run away and they're up in Gath, right?
I better call someone else to go
Shimei arose and saddled a donkey and went to Gath to Achish to seek his servants. And Shimei went out and brought his servants from Gath. Oh, it may work out, right? And when Solomon was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath and returned, the king sent and summoned Shimei and said to him, did I not make you swear by the Lord and by the solemnly warn you, saying, know for certain that on the day you go out and go to any place wherever, you shall die. You said to me, whatever you say is good. I will obey. Did he obey? No.
For 3 years.
For 3 years he did okay, but then 2 of his servants ran away. And he was too pig-headed and did a bonehead move. That's one of the words we use here, bonehead, because we all make bonehead moves. And he decided he's going to go, well, then what's going to happen to him, do you think? Well, let's look. It says, the king said to Shimei, you know in your own heart all the harm you did to David, my father. So the Lord will bring back your harm on your own head. But King Solomon shall be blessed, and the throne of David shall be established before the Lord forever. And then the king commanded Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and he went out and struck him down, and he died. So the kingdom was established in the hand of Solomon.
Oh, and the throne of David established forever is Jesus.
That's right, because he shall reign forever and ever. Amen? I tried to explain that to somebody the other day. I said, you know, we live here, and whether we're here when he returns or not is not the argument. The argument becomes this: there will be some here when Jesus returns to rule for how long? What happens at the end of 1,000 years? Right? And the descendants, descension of the new city of Jerusalem. So, Jesus is coming back to rule here. Why doesn't he just bring the new city of Jerusalem down? Before that, that's not the way it was written. It was written that those who would follow would have a chance. That's the 1,000-year reign. What's coming? It may start in 10 minutes. We don't know. But the cool thing is, it doesn't matter as long as we're standing right beside Jesus. Here, or if we've gone to sleep with our fathers, and we're waiting for that final judgment to commence. So here's Solomon saying, my hands are clean. I told you not to do anything, and you did something stupid. That's on your own. It's you, right? How many of us have been given that command? You know, walk straight. Don't do that. We all have. Thank you for answering, but we all have. Every single one of us. Don't do that. It's bad for your health. Don't drive in that condition. You could hurt somebody. Don't. All these don'ts. And you know what? I bet they were right. They were right. Just like Solomon was right. Don't leave your home. Don't leave the city. That's actually what he says. Right? Don't leave the protection of the tribe. He did. He went out and he came back. Yeah, I made it. Woo! My daughter, when she was like maybe 2, up in Knoxville. Bonasdale is that road that runs north out of into toward Middlebrook Pike. And there's a school there, and across the school is a Lutheran church and their parsonage, and that's where we live, is in that parsonage. And my son was in that elementary school, so we went over, walked over to get him, and then we looked around, where's my daughter? She had run across Van Osdale, a very busy street. She got to the other side, she turned and went, I made it! I think the wife fell off. No playground. No, she just wanted to run across the street to go home. Well, this guy made it home and died because of it. Not because he made it home, but because he left. We all need to learn that lesson. Don't leave home. This is not an American Express commercial. Don't leave home without it. No, just don't leave home at all. Right? Questions?
I just want to get to the part where Solomon had to care for the women about that time. It's coming, right?
That's coming, and the building of the temple is coming. It'll be destroyed again, right? One of the preachers I was watching last week about this said you got to remember the tabernacle, right? The tent was destroyed a couple times, and then the temple, when it was built to be protected for all time, was destroyed, and they're building it again. So the temple of the southern part of the city of David is being not re-erected, but erected in a new place. And God kept saying, don't do this. And what are they doing? As fast as they can, doing what they want to do.
Well, the other kingdoms have temples. We need a temple.
Okay. There's a big temple, right in the spot where we used to go pray, and we need that back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in the city of Jerusalem, Mecca has been built there. That's the Islam nation place of worship. And it's supposedly right over where the tabernacle was destroyed, the first temple was destroyed. I don't know. I don't study that. But they have to now move where they're building their new temple south because the land is taken up by something else.
Like today?
Right now.
No, they're building
See,
another
if you study the book of Revelation, the revelation of Jesus to his favorite disciple John, right? It tells you all these things to look for: the finding of the red heifers, the building of the temple. All these things are coming true right now. It was written 2,000 years ago. This would happen toward the end of times.
In my world, they're talking about being the way you need to be in case it happens right now.
Mhm.
I want to die sober. The only way I can do that is to be sober right now,
Correct.
constantly.
Yep.
Every day.
So that brings to mind the parable of the 10 lampstands, right? That's what Jesus was trying to tell. You can't prepare for an event that may come in the future because it might happen right now. If the wedding party comes home early, they need to have the lamps burning so they can see it get around. But if they're not, if you didn't go get the oil, if you didn't get the wicks, if you didn't get the right things, you can't borrow it from somebody. You can't borrow your salvation from somebody else. It has to be you. It has to be now. You have to be ready in case you go sleep with your fathers now, or in case he comes back. You have to be ready. Always. Always be ready. Any other questions or comments? Any concerns you can see Dunya in the program? She'll tell you what's true. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera and we'll do our personal and private prayer request. Don't forget, Sunday, we're back in 1 Corinthians, I think it's chapter 6, right? Rayanne, you keep...
I've got my bookmark in it. 6, yes.
Yeah, okay. Once again, Paul just...
No, 7. Start Sunday, 6:27.
Okay.
7.
Chapter 7. Oh, that's right. we read in chapter
Well, I know that one of the
5, and then 6. Chapter 5 was about the guy that was sleeping with his dad's wife, and then 6 went off topic for a second, and then he came back and said, "And all of you other sinners, those of you that that do this or do this or do that," he names off all of them. He said, you gotta kick that person out of church, but you also have to not let these sins continue in the church.
I like the part about lawsuits.
Yep.
Go to the church first.
Yep.
I like that one.
Absolutely.
I was a legal secretary for 15 years, so yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. And then don't forget, Tuesday night down in Spring City at the Pentecostal Worship Center is Recovery Alive, where we had 78 last night.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. We had a lot last night.
We had a lot last night. Yes, ma'am.
I turned around and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people in here.
Yeah.
So what do you think the song is